Hi everyone, this is Laura from Migraine Australia. Today I have a very special guest from all the way in the US, Em from Bliss Out, a qualified nutritionist to tell us all things about the subjects and the questions we have around healthy eating. So welcome Em, can you tell us a little bit about Bliss Out?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking to you. So Bliss Out Holistic Wellness is basically just like the happy wellness hub, I like to call it. I created it as I was healing from my migraine disorder. And I just really wanted to share the diet and the holistic toolkit that had really helped me heal and continues to help me thrive. So I just put all the tools that had helped me. I share my story. I wanted to share the mind and body experience of what it felt like. And I wanted to create a place that was happy for people who are going through this darkness to have some resources. So it was like, one night I was sitting on my family room floor in the dark and I had my headphones on and I was like, what could I create? And I was like, I'll make a website with everything. So it's been a passion project and a really fun thing is to have for people and for myself.
That's so great. And can you you did mention before, but can you tell us about your migraine disorder and the journey that you went through with that?
Yes, absolutely. So in 2016, my world flipped upside down. I had just had my second child, so I was like 3 months postpartum. And I was tired, it was kind of typical new mom fatigue, but, nothing out of the blue. I'd had a cold in the weeks prior, didn't think much of it. I went to work that day and it was like midday and I was sitting at my computer desk and all of a sudden everything just went sideways. I was suddenly floating. My eyes started to see everything skewed. The derealization hit. I felt like I was in like a dream state. The intense brain fog. It was like you snap and my world just changed. So at that time I had no idea what was going on. It would take over a year later to even really put a name to it. But I later learned that I was dealing with vestibular migraines, in my case, most likely triggered by vestibular neuritis. So that was when things turned chronic. Looking back now in retrospect, I can see that as a kid, I was dealing with some pain migraines and some abdominal migraines. In my 20s, I had definitely had some silent migraines and some fainting experiences, but it was all episodic and it passed really quick. So I never thought anything of it. But when things went chronic and my symptoms turned to 24/7 without any relief, that is when I could no longer ignore it, and because it took control. So vestibular migraine is the label, but with that, there's so many symptoms that I'm sure so many can relate to.
Wow. And so your symptoms that you discussed, they were constant?
Yes. Yeah. So, and that was what was so weird to me and why I didn't stumble across the vestibular migraine label for a while, because, this is going back over 3.5 years ago. And I thought that vestibular migraines had to be episodic, and then the more I learned and the more vestibular warriors, as I like to call us, that I connected with, I realized, and I was told, I was talking to another person going through this, and she was like, my symptoms sound really similar to you, and I've been diagnosed with vestibular migraines. So that was the first time that was like a year in, I opened my eyes and I was like, oh, this can be constant, because I didn't get a moment of relief. There was no time to breathe. It was just constant symptoms. So yeah, that was news to me, learning that.
So tell us about good nutrition within a migraine treatment plan. So you teach so many people about healing their bodies from the inside. So can you tell me if it targets a specific symptom, or what part it can play in the journey of, controlling, I guess, our symptoms?
Absolutely. So I look at food as the foundation of health. So whether it is a migraine disorder or a vestibular condition or some other chronic unnamed condition or whatever you have going on, food is like our life source. So yeah, I definitely can say that food can control, a specific symptom, but really it's like a holistic thing, in that you're helping one thing, it's going to help everything. So often when I'm like talking and working with someone, the goal is to get the vestibular symptoms under control and to help the body so that those are not intense. But along with that, sometimes their cholesterol gets lower, or they lose some weight, or they have more energy. So it's not like just diet is meant to target one symptom. The beautiful thing when you're like fueling yourself with real food plant-powered food, is that it helps your body on a whole. So that's something that like I get really excited about, because it's not just about like, let's put a Band-Aid on this one symptom. It's like, let's feel good from the inside out and feel excited and happy about life. And I think that food is such a powerful place to start when it comes to getting there.
And I couldn't, like, for those that don't know, Em's helped me a lot in my journey, and I'm the same. So many people call us vestibular happy, but I think it's because we go on an entire journey of healing, and I don't know, it's sort of like, it's so much more than coming out of vestibular migraine. It's that whole body experience in regards to the things we didn't even realize were affecting us, actually were affecting us. So a lot of people talk about medical medium, heal your headache, elimination diets. What has worked for you, and what's your advice to others? Because I know that can put a lot of people off, because they think, oh, a diet, they label a diet as hard. What's your advice for others?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, you know you better than anyone else. So, you know, I always say you have to really learn to listen to your body, because, you know, maybe bananas doesn't work for someone else, but for another person, it's like life, you know, force of the food. So really getting to listen to your body. But I think to even get to a point where you can listen to what your body needs and craves, is that you have to be feeding it really good food. Because I think when you're in the darkness of symptoms, at least for me, I couldn't even think straight. So even trying to see what food was helping or hurting, it was so hard when symptoms were just like crashing all the time. But the more that I fed my body, lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, you know, real food, whole grains, I let go of white sugar and processed stuff and excess junk. And, you know, it's not always an overnight thing. I have a sweet tooth, like it takes time. But the more that I just started fueling my cells, the more I could tell what was helping and what was hurting. So I looked at the migraine diet, and I did it for a period of 6 months. I figured, okay, I better see what could possibly be triggers for me. And I followed it. And while I was doing that, I was also sort of cleaning up my diet at the same time. So after that 6-month point, I really felt comfortable bringing back in foods. So I don't go a day without like lemon in my water. I love avocados, bananas. But I do think that it's worth experimenting just to see if there are things that really aren't working for your body right now. And if there are foods like within the migraine diet that don't work for you now, that doesn't mean that this is for a forever thing. It might just need, like, while in healing mode, those foods aren't suiting you. So I think it's great to experiment with that. But I think that while you're doing it, go deeper with real food, go deeper with plants. Because if you're just following the migraine diet and you're finding like you're just eating processed foods or tons of animal protein or tons of dairy, if you look at that, that's not fueling your body. Like, your liver needs love, and that is not helping your liver. You know, your liver cleans out toxins, it cleans out viral load. So you really have to think, like, even though it's within this diet, is it really fueling my body? So things like that to start, you know, going around in your head. Medical medium, I personally have enjoyed the protocols hugely. They've been a game changer in my world. But again, that's an experiment thing. I wouldn't judge anything just by what you've heard or what other people have said. I really would use yourself as an experiment. That's what I did with me. And going through the cleanse, it gave me an opportunity to take healing to another level. It also gave me the opportunity to wean off my medicine, which was a goal of mine. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity within food. And if you just look at one thing, you might really be shutting the door to really helping your body heal in a big way. But ultimately, whatever you do go for, I would so recommend like focusing on real food as the heart of it. And I know that the detox, if you're someone who eats a lot of processed foods or a lot of sugar, or if coffee is your main drink, I know that the detox from that can feel really bad. But once you get through that period, like bliss, as I like to say, is on the other side of it. And then you become more intuitive, and then you know how to feed your body so you feel really good. So just give it time, and yeah, just keep trudging with it. Yeah.
And do you ever find that people sort of turn around and say to you, well, how long is this going to take me? Yeah. You know how often people are like, well, I'm not seeing the results in 1 or 2 weeks. Why aren't I feeling better? What's your advice for people to sort of, to to keep going, because there is no overnight fix, as we know. Migraine disorders aren't curable. What's your advice to sort of to keep going? I know that for me, it's just been something that I've had to be consistent with. And as I've gotten more consistent, the better I've come to feel.
Right, right. Yeah, there is no set equation when it comes to what we're dealing with us. With migraines, a lot of us have other underlying conditions or other conditions that come along with migraine. You don't know what your toxic load is. You don't know what kind of viral load you're dealing with, your environment, your stress. There are so many things that impact it. So there is no set time frame. I will say for me, I had 24/7 symptoms for the better part of 18 months. And there was great progress within that. But that's a long time, it's a long time to keep on fueling your body. I wanted a quick fix. I mean, I just wanted to snap my fingers and for it to be better. But my goal and my thought process was always, I would rather heal my body now than deal with this 10 years down the line. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Doesn't mean that I did it perfectly or that I didn't slip up, but like the goal was, let's heal me now so that I don't have to deal with it to this extreme for the rest of my life, so that I can find me again and I can find happiness. So it is just keeping going to, like, if you have to write out like what your why is and what your inspiration is, or if you have a goal of something you want to attend or something you want to do, I think it's really good to have like pieces of light and love in your life that you are aiming towards. I wake up each morning and it's kind of a fresh start of like, okay, how am I going to fuel my health today? Because I think you're either fueling your health or you're feeding, the invader, or you're feeding, the bad stuff, as I like to call it. And I always want to know that I'm like feeding my health, my happiness, my bliss. So it's a new day each day. But yeah, there's no set time frame. And I would just encourage you to keep going, even when it feels like you've fallen off the wagon. Just keep going again, because ultimately diet is not just like a quick fix. It's for your like whole vibrant life. It is, diet can be used to ward off chronic conditions. It can be used to support your body in healing from them and preventing them. So it's for the long game. It's the marathon.
And I think that you sort of touched on it before. You know how so many people are like, well, I had to have that piece of cake. I had to have that processed bit of sugar.
Yeah.
Does that mean their whole diet is over? Or like people often feel quite discouraged when they almost stuff up. What's your sort of advice around that?
Yeah, just keep going. You are human, and if that like piece of cake brought you happiness and you were out with friends and you enjoyed it, like I went out to get some amazing ice cream with my kids today, and you just keep on going. This is not about perfection. This is, again, the long game. So this is just fueling your body where you can, like waking up and having a glass of water, having fruit smoothies, having plant-powered meals. But it's not about perfection. And if you have that, it's not a waste of a day. It never has to be a waste of a day just because you did one thing that wasn't quote unquote perfect. It's okay. Just keep on going. You didn't do something bad. Nothing's wrong with you. It's not wrong. I hate to like put a label on like bad or wrong food. It's just, what can you bring in that's good? So just, okay, cool, you did that, and then what's the next meal you're gonna have? Maybe you have like extra broccoli on your plate, or like an extra salad with it. It doesn't have to be one way. It has to look like this.
Well, I guess the big question is, if you go on a healthy diet or like an elimination diet, does that take away the need to go on medication?
I think that's another thing it changes person to person. I think, at least in my case, I know the fact that I was like really focusing on diet as healing from the inside out. I went a long time without trying a medication. I went 21 months without trying a medication. At that point, I felt like I had healed to 90%, but then out of the blue, I'd get these intense vestibular migraine attacks. And then for me, it was an indication of like, okay, I can use this medication as like part of my toolkit. And it was the hammer that sort of knocked me into 100%. So I think when used appropriately, it can be really powerful. But I would never just want to do the medication route. I think that if you ignore diet, you're just ignoring a huge piece that's the foundation of your health. But certainly, I've talked to so many people that have just turned to diet and a holistic approach, and they haven't used medicine. So I don't think it's yes or no. I think in my case, I could have gone without medicine. I was also exhausted and a mom of 2 little kids and working full time. And for me, it was like, no, this is the right choice in this moment for me. But I still kept up with, how I was eating. So I think you have to listen to your intuition too, and really advocate for yourself and what ultimately you want for you, because we all react differently to medications. Just because, one preventative worked well for me in my case definitely doesn't mean that it's going to work for someone else, and vice versa. So this is definitely a very personal choice and decision. I think that you will make the decision that's right for you.
And so you sort of touched on it before around wellness and exercise. People get really confused what wellness and mindfulness is, like I did myself, but that's been a game changer for me. So can you tell us a little bit about, for people that don't understand, about like a wellness routine and tips that people can use to sort of, again, as you talked about, it's the toolkit of having so many different other things that are helping and fueling your body.
Yeah, totally. So I think of it as like my blissful lifestyle. It's not just something that I did to get better. It really has become a part of me. So it's waking up in the morning and having like a big glass of water. For me, it's like waking up and using my peppermint essential oil. It's having a big smoothie. It's doing meditation. It's going out on like a walk through the woods with my kids. It's doing things that like fuel my heart and soul. So it's part of life. It becomes ingrained. And if you do these things over and over again, they're no longer like something you have to think about. They just become a part of your wellness. And they become the things that really make you happy because they make you feel better. So I think that there's so many things in my toolkit. It's definitely diet, it's essential oils, it's movement and meditation workouts by Kate Hurley, which I love. It's getting out into nature. I always say that like running brought me back to life once I felt comfortable running again, and that wasn't for like 15 months. So, you take things at the pace that works for you. But if you can build a routine of things that excites you and makes you feel good about yourself, like that's where the magic happens. Like that's where the transition happens. That's where like I call it an awakening. I feel like this whole experience has just been an awakening. And the girl before this experience, I don't know if I know her anymore, like you just grow and you evolve and you change and you create your wellness. Yeah.
And so how do people connect with you? So obviously you're in America, but if Australians want to reach out and connect and have a nutrition consult with you, is that something that they can do? What can we do to get in touch?
Okay. Yes, I would love to connect with you guys. So you can find me over at Bliss Out, and my website is bliss-out.co. I run the Vestibular Warrior YouTube channel, which is just me sharing my journey through dealing with a migraine disorder, through healing, everything that's helped me. Also, I'm on Instagram at vestibular_warrior. And then my book is Uncovering Bliss, which you can find on Amazon, or you can get the ebook off my site. And that is me just exposing the mind and body experience and what it felt like. I wrote it for not only people living with a migraine disorder, but for friends and family, so they could really understand what it's like in the darkness and what it's like to heal. And then last time, but not least, I'm a holistic nutritionist. So if you are looking to elevate your wellness with diet, I would love to work with you. And you can get all the details on my website. That is a light in my life and a really fun thing. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on today. I can't wait for people to watch the interview, to jump on the website, and to just be able to add something into their toolkit of what's going to help them within managing their migraine disorder. So thank you so much. We can't wait to see more from you. I know that we will definitely be touching base more across Migraine Awareness Month, but we really appreciate your time.
Sounds awesome. And thank you for having me do this. I'm so excited for everything that you guys are doing. So thank you.